Hello, everybody, and welcome to College Football Tonight here on HerbFM Radio. It's December 13th, and we got Jason Myers from the Hattiesburg American, the Southern Miss. He covers the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, and they're going to take on Florida State in the Independence Bowl at the end of the month. So, Jason, thanks for joining us. I guess it's the first time that Florida State and Southern Miss is going to play each other since 1989 when some guy named Brett Favre beat them in Tallahassee.
1989 was the last time Southern Miss won, but I think they played again in '96, and that would have been the last time. As far as I remember, that was the last time they played. But yeah, 1989 was the last time Southern Miss won in the series.
Yeah. Well, talk about the team. I know everybody's getting ready for the bowl. You know, they're doing their bowl preparation now. They're going to start practice. I think the finals are done, right?
Yeah. The finals got wrapped up last week, and they've been hard at it since Monday. You know, they took a kind of a little layoff there, had a little layoff after Southern Miss beat Marshall 2 days after Thanksgiving, and had a little bit of a layoff. And then last Thursday they got back to it, and then on Friday, Hattiesburg, Mississippi got record snowfall, almost 7 inches.
Oh wow!
So not necessarily used to that sort of thing down in these neck of the woods, and so they canceled practice on Friday and Saturday, and got back after it on Monday, and so they're in the thick of things as far as bowl preparations are concerned. Actually, just got off the practice field about an hour ago.
Nice. Well, how was practice tonight? Are they all still back in? I know you guys had that time off, since Thanksgiving. Did they look a little rusty?
They were. I think yesterday was probably worse than today. They just kind of like you said, knocking the rust off, just getting kind of back into the swing of things. And but today they looked a lot better. Today they were having a lot more fun, and even though it was still somewhat chilly for South Mississippi, they were still getting after it, and really it seemed to kind of be honing, sort of reining themselves back in. I guess what is it now? 2 weeks from today they play, so I think they're kind of starting to get focused in on the task at hand.
Yeah, you guys are taking on a Florida State squad that basically had a lot of injuries this year, and Jimbo Fisher decided to jump ship, week after that, a week after the ACC championship game when they played that game against Louisiana Monroe, and now they have a interim coach, and now they have William Taggart going to take over for next year. So, just talk about what you see from Florida State. Will they give them any troubles in the Independence Bowl?
That's a good question. I think they are very much not really sure what to expect out of Florida State, given all the turnover and all the injury situations, and then they've got their best defensive back is cutting his career short. So it's going to be one of those deals where I think they're kind of focusing more on themselves than they are Florida State. So that's going to do what they know how to do best and let the chips fall.
Yeah. Well, Southern Miss and Florida State used to be in the Metro Conference. People don't realize that Florida State played in the Metro Conference way back before they joined the ACC, and that's the same conference you guys were part of Florida State as well, right?
Yeah, it used to be conference mates, and they were independent together kind of before that. So they've got a relatively lengthy history. They've played, I think, 31 or 32 times in their series history, and they used to go at it pretty regular.
So basically, the Golden Eagles are going to be probably the home team because they're probably closer to Shreveport than Florida State is, pretty much.
That will be interesting to see how that plays out. I know Florida State underachieved, obviously, by their standards, and so, but at the same time, they travel very, very well. They're a national brand and travel very well, and so it'll be interesting to see. Because you're right, Shreveport's only about 4.5, almost 5 hours away from Hattiesburg, and it'll be very interesting to see how they stack up against each other attendance-wise.
Well, talk about Conference USA real quick. A lot of people don't realize you guys are in Conference USA. You got Florida and Atlantic, who really turned it around this year with Lane Kiffin as their coach, and Marshall, and you guys have a very good little conference that people don't realize.
Yeah, Conference USA surprised a lot of people, I think, this year, although they might not should have. I want to say each of the last 2 years, Conference USA teams have had the best bowl game winning percentage. It's at least, if it's not the best in the last couple of years, it's maybe second best out of all the conferences during bowl season. And then this year, Southern Miss had 10 bowl eligible. Conference USA had 10 bowl eligible teams.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida Atlantic turned things around, had the best season in their history. And North Texas had a very nice season, winning the West Division. And it's not exactly a pushover. I wouldn't say it's the strongest league by any stretch, even probably not even the strongest league among the group of 5 schools, but certainly not bad competition.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I appreciate you joining me tonight, and I know you have a lot of stuff because you're right down there in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday, and hope you enjoy that bowl game on the end of the month.
All right. Well, look, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. That's Jason Muniz from the Hattiesburg American. We'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio.
Dark, so cold, lying in an alley, escaping reality. He just can't find how to ease his pain. There's a God.
Boston College football radio analyst for the football team up there in Chestnut Hill. He's right now, we're trying to get a hold of him. Here he is. So, hi, Pete.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, sorry about that. I know you're busy with that holiday thing going on.
My phone was vibrating in my pocket. I go, who the hell's calling me? I went, oh, shit.
Well, Pete, thanks for joining us tonight. I've been there with the cell phones and the vibration and all that stuff. So, talk about Boston College. You guys are doing the stadium tour this year. You played at Fenway Park, has finished the season, and now you're before the season's over. Now you're playing at Yankee Stadium. So, what stadium do you like?
Yeah, it's you know what? It's a novelty.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, it's great for the kids. I think for the experience, and it's something to be said for the fan experience. Although not ideal because the stadiums aren't designed to accommodate football. It's kind of it's more secondary than primary.
Mm-hmm.
But from the standpoint of the experience, a lot of fun. Fenway Park, there's always an added excitement when you play at Fenway, and BC played Penn State a couple of years in this thing down at Yankee Stadium, and the novelty adds something to the experience. The fact that you're at a venue that has great history, great baseball history, and certainly football history, because they used to play a lot of football games in these stadiums in the old days. I think the kids appreciate it, and I also think the fans, have the opportunity to have a kind of a unique experience.
Well, you're taking on an Iowa squad that beat Ohio State really bad this year. So, what's the preparation like? Have you been to practice yet for the bowl preparation?
Well, yeah, and they're really not even. They're just starting to prep for Iowa.
Yeah.
Most of the bowl practice, it's really the ribbon on the present of the cherry on the Sunday. It's the extra 15 practices. They spend 5 of those practices just developing players, giving the guys who went through the grind of the season rest, and then the last 10 practices they begin to bring on more and more emphasis on the opponent, heavy emphasis on fundamentals and recovery prior to that. But I think that this is an opponent that really poses some interesting challenges for BC, because Iowa's they're a good and typical Big Ten football team. They've got a very athletic but large offensive line. They've got a quarterback who's got great numbers. I think he's got 23 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. They've got a tight end who is just outstanding. They've got great, skilled players in the tailback position. So they like to throw the ball around the park. So it presents some interesting challenges for BC defensively. But you look at BC, the thing about them is they've really done a good job in the secondary, in particular, the ability to play in man coverage in the ACC is quite an accomplishment. And BC lived by the man coverage in the ACC this year and ended up having a great, by typical standards, a great year on that front. So an interesting matchup, their offense and the BC defense. But on the other hand, you flip it over, you look at the BC and Iowa. Iowa, they're only giving up 143 yards a game on the ground. Boston College is tuning them up to the 213 yards a game up on the up front in the running game. And that's, I think, is going to be the critical point, is the ability for Boston College to run against this defense. And the key player in this scenario is the Boston College quarterback, Darius Wade, who put up some pretty good numbers against Syracuse, over 200 yards passing against Syracuse a few weeks ago. If they are able to pass the ball against Iowa, Iowa will have a hard time defending the run. And I think that's going to be the difference. So the quarterback for Boston College, I believe, is the wild card. Yeah. And, it's his team now. And, this is his 4th game with this team. And, it's his team.
Yeah. I talked to A.J. Dillon the other day when I was down in Charlotte. He was there for the Rookie of the Year and all that stuff. And he's a good, I want to say, people, make fun of me saying he's a good kid. Yeah, he knows what. I think he's a good running back. And, just talk about him.
Well, he's physically scary. I joke with Steve Adagio. I say, geez, we're the same weight. We're built the same, aren't we? And of course, he and I have there are very, very few similarities between myself and A.J. Dillon physically, but except on what we weigh.
Right.
This guy he's a man-child. He is a stud, scary, physical being. He's got tremendous passion. He runs with power. He punishes defenders. He's got a blend of power and speed that I've never seen at Boston College. And I was having this conversation with somebody before who watched Jim Brown play, and I never saw Jim Brown live. But you know what? The guy says, this guy reminds me of Jim Brown. I said, boy, that is a high comparison.
Wow.
So the ability for a guy like Dillon, and now he's getting 30 tugs a game. If they had brought him onto the scene earlier, they groom him in. He's a freshman.
Right.
So the first 2 or 3 games of the season, they really hadn't figured out what they were yet, and he wasn't getting a lot of tugs. If he had that 30 tugs a game throughout the season, his numbers would be off the chart.
Right.
So he's a unique blend of speed and power, and like I said, if they can force Iowa out of the away from jamming the box, sometimes that doesn't matter.
Right.
But if they can force him to play sideline to sideline, he could have a great game. As far as his personality is concerned, I'm a BC guy. I take a lot of pride in that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a BC guy.
Yeah.
He's soft spoken. He's team oriented. The old saying, "There's no I in team." He plays by that credo. But I like to say there's no I in team, but there certainly is one in win. But in the ability for him to deflect the attention at this young age, I think is powerful for his teammates. And he is a really good kid.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I know you're at doing something tonight. I appreciate you joining me tonight, and I hope you have a great holiday season and enjoy the game at Yankee Stadium. And hopefully, there's a lot of snow that day.
Well, I'll be inside. I won't care.
Yeah, that works.
Great talking to you. Have a great holiday.
You too.
Thanks.
All right, folks.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio.
Dark, so cold, lying in an alley, escaping reality. He just can't find how to ease it.
My eyes are getting weary, my back is getting tight. I'm sitting here in traffic on the Queensboro Bridge tonight. But I don't care, cause all I wanna do is cash my check and drive right home to you.
All right, folks. Welcome back.
Cause baby,
HerbFM Radio, we're doing some little bowl preview here because we're going to take a week off because of the holiday next week, but we'll be back on the 27th of December. We have Brent Hudson on the phone with us from the Columbus Commercial Dispatch. He covers the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. So, Brent, thanks for joining us. Just talk about the Bulldogs. They have to go to Jacksonville and try to contain Lamar Jackson. So, how's bowl preparation for that?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting matchup, especially given the defensive staff took a big hit when defensive coordinator Todd Grantham decided to follow Dan Mullen to Florida, so they're left with the safeties coach Ron English as their interim defensive coordinator, which you can do worse since he's been a defensive coordinator, and he actually did 5 years as Eastern Michigan's head coach earlier this decade. So if you've got to have somebody as an interim defensive coordinator for a bowl game, MSU lucked into his presence on this year's coaching staff. But yeah, that's definitely the challenge there is Lamar Jackson. They've definitely said all the right things. They aren't going with the Lamar Jackson disrespect card around here in Starkville. And on the other side, they're going without their starting quarterback. Nick Fitzgerald suffered a pretty gruesome injury in the Egg Bowl. For those of you that didn't see it, you should probably keep it that way.
I'm glad I didn't see that. See that. I heard about it, and I'm like, I might watch. It's almost like that Joe Theismann thing when I was a kid. Yeah. No, thank you.
It was funny. When it happened, Joe Theismann tweeted "same way." So that's rough. But yeah, he'll be out too. So they're going to their true freshman backup, Keaton Thompson, out of New Orleans. So it's an interesting quarterback battle in the Tag Slayer Bowl. There's a lot of other interesting matchup aspects to it, but people are going to focus on the quarterbacks naturally.
Yeah. Well, talk about you guys. Dan Mullen goes to Florida. Florida State has the same issue. They lost their coach to Texas A&M. I guess the SEC is trying to get better, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. I think the SEC is starting to correct itself after a pretty lousy cycle of hires over the last few years. Obviously, Tennessee had to resort to its publicly fourth or fifth option in getting Butch Jones, which, hey, Tennessee getting its fourth or fifth option, does that remind you of anything? Does that ring any bells for you? I can't imagine why it would. But
right.
all joking at Tennessee's expense aside, I think the conference nailed this series of hires. Dan Mullen is a great fit at Florida. Joe Moorhead, I really think he's going to do a lot of good things here at Mississippi State, particularly with next year's roster, which just off the top of my head is probably going to return at least 17 starters.
Right.
They're going to be loaded next year, and the conference has gotten a lot of good coaches in this recent cycle, as you mentioned, Jimbo Fisher being one of those guys. So yeah, I think the conference is due for some better things, and they desperately need that, given how top heavy it was this year, and you could argue last year too.
Yeah. Well, I heard Tennessee try to call me the other day, and I was like, no, I don't need it. I really don't want to go.
Yeah, I interviewed for that job. I thought I had a good shot. So.
I was waiting for him to call me. Go like, hey, I do well on PlayStation. Come on.
I blame my agent. Hey. That's the only reason I didn't get that job. I blame my agent.
It's me. It's probably my Twitter handle. I don't have enough Twitter followers, so they don't call me. So I'm like, hey. Well, Brent, it sounds like it's going to be a fun bowl game. I know with your interim coach and. And then you have the guy from Penn State coming in, next year. Moorhead coming in. It sounds like it's going to be an exciting bowl game for you guys, trying to have fun with Lamar Jackson's probably the final game of his career, probably.
Oh yeah, it almost certainly will. And it'll be interesting to see how State does it, because they don't have the secondary to lean on it to stop Lamar Jackson. And they had a pretty good linebacking core, but their senior linebacker Des Harris is hurt. We're not entirely sure if he's going to play in the bowl game, and if he doesn't play, they're going to have to lean on underclassmen in those roles. Freshman Errol Thompson and sophomore Leo Lewis, both of them have had phenomenal years this year. Errol Thompson was actually on the all-freshman team in the conference, but you don't want underclassmen trying to stop Lamar Jackson. So it's going to have to be on this defensive line, and it's been really good. I thought the defensive end, Montez Sweat, should have been at least a third-team All-American on some list. He didn't ultimately get that honor, and he's helped in the interior by Jeffrey Simmons, who's been awesome this year, and Braxton Hoyette's been a surprise on the inside too. And in the Grantham system, the outside linebacker Gary Green played so much on the front that he defenses basically have to treat him like a defensive lineman, even though he's technically listed as an outside linebacker. So if State is going to corral Lamar Jackson at all in Jacksonville, they're going to have to do it with that front four. Right.
Well, Brent, I would like to get you on the 27th of December if you're available. We'll talk more about this bowl game coming up. If you're available, that would be great to have you on.
I'll be in Jacksonville. Just give me a shout.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio.
My eyes are getting weary, my back is getting tight. I'm sitting here in traffic on the Queensboro Bridge tonight. But I don't care, 'cause all I wanna do is cash my check and drive right home to you. 'Cause baby, all my life I will be driving home to you.
All right, folks, welcome back to the College Football Tonight here on HerbFM Radio. Brad Michaels, the Executive Director of the Quick Lane Bowl there in Detroit. The Duke Blue Devils going to take on the Northern Illinois Huskies in that wonderful bowl game. So, Brad, thanks for joining us. This is how many years has been the Quick Lane Bowl?
It's our fourth year run of the game.
Okay. And it used to be the Little Caesar Bowl, and then it was somebody, who had it before that?
So it was the Little Caesars Bowl. Before that, it was the Motor City Bowl, and then the Cherry Bowl before that. That was another committee of folks that ran that game.
Yeah.
And we used to act as the venue for the game.
Okay.
Now we, as the Lions organization, run, own, and operate the bowl game, and it either features teams from the Big Ten, ACC, or the MAC each year. And this is our fourth year run of the game.
Oh, cool. Currently. Nice. Last year, you guys had Boston College and Maryland playing each other, right?
Right, and I think the most memorable part about that was the foal-off. One of our team events is when we take the teams foaling, which is when you throw footballs at bowling pins.
Oh, okay.
And the object is to knock down the other team's pins before yours are knocked down. And at the end of it, once the team kind of plays against themselves, they take the top
top 4 student athletes from each side.
Yeah.
And have a full off at the end. And it was down to 1 pin each, and the long snapper on BC decided to long snap instead of throw it.
Yeah.
And he buried it, and we posted it on Twitter, and it made the Sports Center top 10.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
They were going nuts.
Nice.
So,
Well, let's talk about this year's game between Duke, who came in, they won 4 in a row to start the season. They lost 5 in a row, and they turned around and made it to a bowl game. And you got Northern Illinois, who people don't realize they beat Nebraska this year in Nebraska. So just talk about having those 2 teams going to Detroit.
sure. I'll start with Northern Illinois since they're the home team.
Yeah.
Like you said, they won at Nebraska, which I believe was Nebraska's first loss against a MAC school. So that was a huge win for them. And their motto is the hard way. And after reading up on them more and talking with their coaching staff, you can easily see why. They're very stingy on the defensive end. I think they've ranked consistently within the top 20 defenses in the nation all year long.
Mm-hmm.
And defensive end Sutton Smith, from what the administrators call him, they said he's a beast. He's essentially a wrestler in a football body. He's only 6 foot tall, but he's tough as nails, and he was a MAC Defensive Player of the Year. So he'll definitely be looking to cause chaos for Duke.
Oh, wow.
And like you said, they actually produce big name talent there. We, as the Lions, actually drafted Kenny Galladay, their former receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's a rookie on our squad this year.
Oh, okay.
And on the Duke side of things, Coach David Cutcliffe, I know there's rumors swirling around. It sounds like Tennessee was approaching him for a job. He's a first class all the way.
Yes, he is. He's very nice. He's a nice guy. Yeah, nice person to talk to. He really is.
Yep. And they were on the brink of elimination, and they had to win their last 2 games against Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. And they were down 14-3 against Georgia Tech, came back and won. And then 17-3, they were down again at Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they outscored them 31-0 in the second half at one point to come back and win there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Daniel Jones, their quarterback, he's second-year quarterback, and he's going through growing pains like all quarterbacks do in their second year under an offense. You see it in the pros all the time. It's just part of what.
They kind of thrive. The better he plays, their offense kind of feeds off that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see if he can actually rush the ball against the stingy NIU defense.
Yeah. Well, talk about having the Lions. You're working with the Detroit Lions. How they they took over this bowl game. You said in the beginning, how's the people talking? Are they talking in the city in Detroit about this bowl game?
Absolutely. So the reason we got this game was to get us on the map and establish that we can actually host major football events in the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a renaissance going on in the city right now. There's people all over the place. The goal of getting this game was to long-term hopefully get a college football playoff in Detroit at Ford Field. Build relationships with all these schools. We treat this game as an 11th home game.
Okay.
And it's great being able to utilize some of the resources we have from the Detroit Lions standpoint. And to be able to offer the NFL locker rooms and Ford Field and an awesome NFL facility that a lot of these student athletes don't have the opportunity to play in on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been fun. This is our 4th year, and we're really looking forward to another exciting matchup.
Yeah, it seems like it's 2 good matchups, and it's like 5:30 on Tuesday afternoon in 2 weeks, pretty much, right?
Yep, the kickoff is at 5:15, December 26th.
Right.
The day after Christmas, so it's perfect for making a tradition out of it locally, or if you're with either school, you can fly in that morning or drive up that morning and catch the game. We actually do a lot of activities leading up to the game to make it a more family-friendly atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Is there another question? Is there a lot of alumni groups in Detroit for Duke and Northern Illinois? Because I saw Duke is doing a live radio show from Detroit. Their football, like they do with David Cutcliffe every Wednesday night. They're going to do it there the week of the game. Is there a lot of alumni there in that area for Detroit and for Duke and Northern Illinois?
It certainly seems like it. Duke has a really large following. Even the general Duke fans throughout the nation, when it comes to basketball, they'll follow them in football too. And every bowl game they go to, they want to kind of make let everyone know that they're on site. And I know that both teams have a large alumni function pregame at the stadium, so I would imagine that both have a pretty nice following in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, Brad, I appreciate you joining me tonight. It's really great to talk to an executive director of a bowl game, and I hope you guys have an successful, bowl game. I hope you guys sell out the Ford's Field because you guys do a great job on Thanksgiving during the Thanksgiving year. That game when you guys play the NFL game against whoever. So I hope you guys get a lot of people there for that game after Christmas.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Brad Michaels, the executive director of the Quick Lane Bowl. We'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio. All right, Brad.
My eyes are getting weary. My back is getting tight. I'm sitting here in traffic on the Queensboro Bridge tonight. But I don't care, 'cause all I wanna do is cash my check and drive right home to you. 'Cause baby, all my life I will be driving home to you.
All right, folks, welcome back to the College Football Tonight here on HerbFM Radio, and we have the former coach of JMU, and he was working at Coastal Carolina this year as a defensive coordinator, and he's retiring from the NFL. Mickey Matthews with us from the college game. So, Coach Matthews, thank you for joining us tonight. Just talk about your career in college football. You've been all over the country. From where was your first coaching job?
Fall 1976.
Mm-hmm.
I coached the 9th grade team at Lamar Consolidated High School in Rosenberg, Texas.
Oh wow! And then you went what was your first college job?
College job, yeah. The first college, I did that for 2 years. Then I actually got promoted to the varsity. I don't know how I did that, but I got promoted to the varsity in Texas at Lamar Consolidated. In 1978, I was a graduate assistant at Kansas State University.
Okay. So did you work with Bill Snyder?
No, I didn't work with. That was a long time. Bill was working. He was a high school coach actually in North Texas at the time. I would think that if I were to look it up, this Bill is from up near Denison, Texas, where he got his start.
Okay. Well, everybody knows you because I met you a lot of times when you were at JMU, during the media days there in Baltimore and all that stuff. And then you did some broadcasting after that, and then you went to Coastal Carolina. So just talk about... Yeah, so talk about how did Coastal Carolina give you an opportunity to be the defensive coordinator?
Well, I'd known Joe when Joe was trying to get into coaching. It's kind of comical. He was trying to get into coaching, and I was the head coach at JMU. And he actually called me and asked me if he could come up and shadow me. So I didn't really know what shadow was. So he told me, he said, well, I just want to watch what you do during the day. So we talked on the phone. He said he wanted to be a college coach. And so it was during the season. I said, Joe, you're welcome. I said, I get here every morning at 6:30 and I leave at 9 o'clock at night. You want to stay right with me? Don't bother me a lick.
Wow.
So that's what he did. So he met me on the front steps about a week later at 6:30 in the morning. And he watched what I did all day. had a notebook with him, went to all our meetings, and
Yeah.
that's what I did is be a head football coach. And he asked me at the time, it was kind of comical. He said, I'm going to be a head football coach. And I said, Joe, no one's going to hire you because you don't have the background to do this.
Yeah.
And he said, well, let me worry about that. And because I was honest with him, and I know if you talk to Joe, he was turned down many, many times for jobs that were actually not as good a job as Coastal Carolina, but did succeed in securing a interview for this head job and got the job when he interviewed.
Oh, wow. That's great. And then he called you and said, hey, you want to be the defensive coordinator? You're like, sure.
I left that out. I'm sorry. Yes, I missed your question. I wouldn't be a good, but it's not the grand jury.
Yeah.
And I came down and did a game when I was working for ESPN. They were in the playoffs. It was one of those ESPNU games.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it. He said, you thought about getting back into coaching? They had won some games that they were really bad on defense.
Oh, wow.
So I said, yeah, I would. And he said, well, so anyway, I didn't think much about it. A year later, he called me and offered me a job. He just I talked to him about 10 seconds. He's like, I got the defensive coordinator job open. If you'd like to take it, you can have it. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, you're going to retire from coaching this year. What's your plans for the future? Are you going back into broadcasting?
I probably will. I thought I'd do something like, did some radio things like this.
Mm-hmm.
I did some things with Newhousel, on his serious thing. I did a lot of work on that. But I'm really not for sure. We have some business things that my wife and I are doing down here in the Myrtle Beach area.
Okay.
So I'm just going to kind of take it easy for a couple of months and then kind of see what's out there.
Yeah. Well, you won a national championship with JMU, and now they won 25 straight games, and Mike Houston just got a contract extension. Have you watched JMU from afar?
I watched them last year. I guess I watched. We're playing the same time they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched last year the game against North Dakota State where they played really well up in Fargo and beat them. Then I watched the final game where they won the championship. It was terrific. And this year, I watched the game go down again. Most of the game against Weber State. Last year, I had recruited all those kids. Like, I think they had 22 starters, and I had recruited 19 of them, which I'm proud of.
Oh, wow.
Now this year, they're still my guys. This year's team, I didn't recruit any. The only offensive guys I recruited is the big tackles. Stinney, the big offensive tackle, was going to get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
One of my guys. And practically the entire defense, they had 3 guys that were named All-American yesterday or today. And all those guys are my guys. You know what? I know those kids, and I know their families, so certainly I have an interest. But this will be the last year.
Yeah.
All those guys are my guys. So after this year, just be another team watching them.
So you recruited all of them. So basically, next year, Mike Houston will have to bring his people he recruited and see if they can continue going, right?
Well, we'll see. I know I can recruit. We're going to find out if he can recruit. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I've always said that when you take a job, some of these guys change jobs right now. You're almost at the mercy of what the previous guy had recruited. You just are. You can, because football's not a game where a lot of freshmen are going to play. I don't care if you're Notre Dame or James Madison or wherever. There's not going to be a lot of freshmen play. So you're kind of at the mercy of what the previous staff had recruited, no doubt.
Right. Well, Coach Matthews, I know you're just relaxing down there in Myrtle Beach. Is it nice and warm down there?
We probably had a little cold weather. It's got down to 40s. Everyone's panicking down here like a bad article. Comical.
Yeah.
We have great weather here in Myrtle Beach, and we enjoy it. My wife and I are outdoor people, so we enjoy doing a lot of outdoors. We live a few blocks from the beach, and of course we always laugh. The locals always laugh. This is the best time to go to the beach around here when all the crowds are not here. But it is a great place to live, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, my parents went down there for a vacation like last April, and they said, wow, it was like 80 degrees down there. And I was like, really? I'm like, how's it 80 degrees? We're like in South Carolina. Yeah. Yeah.
It's terrific. It really is nice down here. It is a nice. We have a little, I would say you have to have a little winter in Myrtle Beach to appreciate all the great weather.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have a lot now. Believe me, we do not have a lot of cold weather here. I like it better here than Florida because of that. You have a little. It does get a little cool as compared, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, Coach Matthews, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I know you're having a good time. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you enjoy whatever you're doing next year. And hope if you get back into radio or back in TV or just go play golf, that'll be good for you too, right?
Well, I'll be playing a lot of golf. Don't worry, I may do the radio and TV, but whenever I'm going to play a lot of golf, I appreciate that. I had a great run. I did 42 years. The only objective I ever had is coach. I've told this to many, many crowds that I never had the objective to be in the Hall of Fame anywhere.
Yeah.
It still doesn't mean a lot to me, but I always wanted to make sure my players enjoyed playing college football. Certainly winning helps, but I wanted those guys to have a good time and that they enjoyed it. They felt like they were better people after they'd been around me for 4 or 5 years, and hopefully I've done that.
Yeah. Well, I had fun talking to you when you were in JMU, and I know one story you told me that you can't go to church because you had a press conference every Sunday because everybody was asking you, what went wrong with the team. So I remember that story you told me.
It's great. It never bothered me. I used to tell Mac Brown that in Harrisonburg, Virginia, I was Mac Brown. That was good enough for me. I go to exactly right. I go to church and the preacher, so now he didn't even bring up I'd be listening to him. He was always talking about me sinning too much, it seemed like, and
yeah.
He would even ask me kind of during his sermon, Coach, I thought we throw the ball more yesterday, or something. So, but this is okay. That's okay. That means they care and they're into it. And that's the great thing about college football. Is everyone becomes a great football coach on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, everybody's a coach. So, well, Coach,
no doubt.
I appreciate you joining me, and have a wonderful holiday, and I'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks for inviting me. You're terrific.
All right, that's Coach Mickey Matthews, former head coach of JMU, now retired from college football. We'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio. Folks, welcome back to the College Football Tonight. We're waiting for Safford Dean from the Orlando Sentinel to join us. And then at 7:55, we'll have Mike Schubin, who does a radio show down in the Shenandoah Valley, who does the public address announcing internally for JMU football. At 8 o'clock, you'll hear our pre-tape interviews with John Stigmeyer, the head coach of South Dakota State. And then Turner Eccles, who is from North Carolina A&T, who's from this area. And then at 8:10, we'll have Coach Pat Scarry on, the Towson men's basketball coach. We'll talk to him about Towson basketball. And then 8:15, we'll have Tyler Merriman, the play-by-play for the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. And then 8:25, we'll wrap up with Jeff Kupak of the North Dakota Football beat writer. So we're going to give Safford a couple more minutes here because he's a busy man down there in the Sentinel. So we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll wait for him and we'll get him on the air. If not, we'll get Mike Schumann. So we'll get him on the air as well. So we'll be right back here on HerbFM Radio.